right? Somebody dying is not as bad as oppressing them, living underneath that. You can oppress yourself, you can oppress your wife, you as a husband, you can oppress your kids, you can be oppressed at work, you can oppress your employees, it can happen anywhere. And Islam has an entire code of ethics, morality, and justice that says anywhere that is, it is forbidden. And even in warfare, if you're fighting someone, they're trying to kill you, you're going to combat them. Your intention is to win the fight. I mean, you have to kill them. There are still what they call rules of engagement, ethics in warfare. You can only fight somebody fighting you. You can only fight them as long as they're fighting you. You cannot hurt women, children, cattle, trees. You can't have scorched earth policy to go through a battle. You can only apply the Islamic concept of warfare to those who fight you until they stop, and nobody else. And you can't go beyond that. And everything is protected. Summarizing, for 700 to 1,000 years, the Muslims were the world leaders in all of this. It was only in recent times, in the age of the Industrial Revolution, that everybody took off and left the Muslims in the dust, and things got really upside down. But if you study history, you'll find that the Muslims were thriving. And in fact, the Muslims consider themselves the beginning of the West. Not opposed to it. They started it. The Muslims consider themselves to be the forefront of Western culture and civilization. And all the things that we apply today, the Muslims take credit for it. So they don't see it as a contradiction, an East meets West. We see it as a continuous process that the Muslims are still engaged in. Muslims have a beautiful, prosperous, proud history, full of rich diversity, global presence, significant impact. And I'm out of time, so I'll just stop and we can get to whatever I missed with your Q&A. And I want to be fair, so people want to leave, they can leave. But I'll stay here for another hour or however long you want, but I'll let the moderator take the questions.
We'll go to the ladies first, then we come with it.
Thank you for your very informative presentation. From what you presented, it seems there are not much difference in terms of values proposed by Christians or Muslims. I want you to explain if and in what ways there might be different values between the Christians and the Muslims.
Specifically Christian and Muslim, almost none. If you took a list of all the ethics of Christianity and all the ethics and morality of Islam, you would be very hard-pressed to find anything different. Here's a slide here. From the Muslim's perspective, you're supposed to, to do what's right, forbid what's wrong. What is that? You've got to be educated, seek knowledge, have integrity, be honest, sincere, modest, humble, pious, pure, clean, sober, just, noble, steadfast, show forgiveness, be kind, generous, optimistic, thankful, happy, obey the 10 Commandments, trust God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Anybody disagree with that? No. Right? The Prophet once held up a comb. He said, you want to know the difference between the Christians and the Muslims? He said, the teeth of the comb. And we're all even. Nothing. The difference is an ocean. I don't want to trivialize it. The difference between the Muslim community and the Christian community comes in our concept of salvation. How do we get to heaven? Big difference. Big difference in understanding. But how to live our lives, how to apply ethics, morality, good behavior, you are going to have to look very hard to find a difference. You're going to, in fact, what you may perceive as a different is more your religious tradition than you would think. In other words, how many of you, Christianity, adultery is forbidden, fornication, homosexuality. Here's a difference. Monasticism in Islam is not permissible. Muslims do not think that we should throw away the world and focus on just prayer, fasting, just dedicate our lives to God. Because God said, worshiping me is obeying me. And obedience, it means to do things right. All things, meaning taking care of your family, is worship. Working is worship. Sleeping the right way, eating the right thing, this is worship. Earning a living and providing for others is worship. So you can worship God 24/7, but if you say, I'm not going to do any of that and I'm just going to pray and fast, then this is not moderation, this is not Islam, and this is not where we would agree on that concept. I want to get to, how many people recognize this lady? How about her?
Mother Teresa.
Yeah, you're good. How about her? I got you there, didn't I? Anything in common?
They're all wearing Yeah.
We didn't invent it. We kept it. Right? Islam considers Christianity and Judaism, and I don't want to use those terms specifically. I'd like to say it a different way. Muslims think that Islam is the only religion that's ever been since Adam, and that all prophets were Muslim. Right? That Adam was a Muslim. He suppressed his free will, followed divine guidance. That Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, Jacob and the tribes, Moses, Jesus, David, Solomon, Muhammad, all of them Muslims. Same religion. One God, heaven, hell, day of judgment, do the right thing. Right? Muslims do not see religion changing over time. Muhammad did not invent Islam. That this chain of religious traditions has been coming through prophets since Adam. And it is not morphing. It's not, well, the Jews say it's this, and the Christians say it's this, and the Muslims say it's this. God only said it one way. Right? And that the differences we have, we created, not God. Right? And we say that Moses delivered the Torah. The Muslims agree with every single word in the Torah. There's not one letter in the Torah the Muslims would disagree with. The Torah of Moses. But you reach down and you hand me your Bible and you say, this is the Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the Pentateuch. This is the Torah. And you find something in there you want to discuss with me. First we have to talk about, are you sure that's the Torah? Is it authentic? Has it been preserved? Is it in the language of Moses? Are we talking about what Moses said? If Moses is here, we agree. Same thing about Jesus. You had a whole class on how the Muslims perceive Jesus, right? Muslims view Jesus as not only a prophet, but as the virgin birth, the miracles, everything, the miraculous things around Jesus, agree with. We agree with every word that Jesus said. We believe that Jesus brought the gospel. We call it the Injil, the good news of Jesus. But and I say every word Jesus said is true. But then you reach down and you pick up your Bible and say, okay, let's talk about this, because I've got, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and these red letters, and let's discuss it. The first thing I'm going to say is, if Jesus is here, he's going to be a Muslim and he's going to agree with me. That's my opinion. If you want to talk about your book, I want to talk about, how do you know it's true? Are you sure that this is what Jesus said? How preserved is it? How authentic is it? Have you delivered to me what Jesus said? This is a totally different topic than me saying, I believe everything Jesus said. You follow me? So we are the same religion from the Muslims' perspective, and the differences we come up with, we created them.
Okay. When we hear about let's say radical, but Muslims, but I guess they might not even be considered Muslims from what you've said. But what we hear in the news. Okay. They will cite the Quran. So how, as a Muslim, do you choose, or are those not really cite, from the Quran? I don't know. So they bring, they'll cite Quran and say, this is what it says, and so how is it chosen? Or I really want to know.
No, I will dogmatically defend every verse of the Quran and tell you that everything I'm saying is true. If they say otherwise, then let them answer your question. Where is something? Well, I don't know what they're saying. You're saying they say something in the Quran. I'll give you a Quran and a highlighter. All of you. Take one home and a highlighter. Bring it back to me. Just highlight the verses you disagree with, not what you agree with. Just bring back only the things that you go, I don't understand it. And I'm going to tell you right now that
it... disagree with all of it. It's not that you would take some out or some in.
Oh no. There's nothing... In fact, there's nothing in there confusing. If somebody takes a verse... Now, if I read this verse right here and it says this, and that's what I'm telling you to do, but if somebody looked down and said, well, look, it starts right here and just start here and end there. Now it puts it in context. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't even have to be educated. You just have to be able to read here to here. I got it. To refute any of those actions. They're beyond... it is an argument that a person that has an opinion who wants to accomplish something political can take anything. You could give them a cookbook and they could come up with a terrorist manual for it. I'm just, there's no correlation between the two, but if you want to try it, I'm sure somebody will do it for you. And they'll give you, so I just say, give me the verse and we'll talk about it, because I can't talk about what they're saying. There's a Quran, they're all over the place. Pick one, highlight it, we'll discuss it.